Second reason you could become a moral perfectionist is from cultural or social influences, either from childhood, from the household you grew up in, or a continuous thing throughout your life. This could be things like purity culture, God-fearing, and extreme accountability that can come from the pressure to confess everything through fear of sinning. And you're consistently worried that something you've done, like even your thoughts, could be perceived as a sin. And so you are hypervigilant towards your behaviors and your thoughts, and you feel like you have to take responsibility for all of that, or you'll be a bad person in God's eyes or your parents' eyes, or whatever the circumstances may be. So if you're unsure what purity culture is, I'm just going to read out a definition. So purity culture is a religious movement primarily within the evangelical Christianity that emphasizes sexual abstinence and modesty before marriage, often leading to shame around sexual desire and harmful psychological impacts like anxiety and trauma, particularly for women who are taught that their virginity is a gift for their future husband. So, as you can get from that definition, purity culture can sometimes foster the desire for a flawless ethical track record, and a similar thing to what I just said about being hypervigilant about your thoughts. If you're having sexual desires, which is completely normal, by the way, then you feel guilty about it and you feel the need to confess and talk about it and get rid of it. So as humans, that purity is biologically unattainable. So if you slightly deviate from these strict ethical rules, then you feel extreme guilt and you feel impure and wrong because you've been taught that purity is your worth, and you feel like you let yourself down, your parents down, your future husband down, your church down. And it can be really, really traumatizing for people who go through this. Another reason for moral perfectionism, a bit more of a modern one from a social perspective, is obviously social media. So obviously right now, cancel culture is strife upon social media, and it can cause a lot of anxiety around putting yourself out there because authenticity can be punished and put under extreme scrutiny. I personally am not a fan of cancel culture unless obviously there is a massive moral issue with someone who has a big platform who shouldn't have that platform. I do think that it can become very over scrutinizing for people who make mistakes online, and it can breed a lot of anxiety. I know I have a lot of anxiety around that as well, because people can get very intense, and so it can cause people to become hypervigilant about what they say. And again, I do think that it can be warranted for people who have been found out to be, you know, not good people. I think that's fair, but I think that recently a lot of the time people are over scrutinized for smaller things, and that can breed a lot of perfectionism in terms of putting your opinion out there and wanting people to view you as a morally perfect person. Back to psychology. Moral perfectionism can also be born from intense trauma. It could be an attempt to control your morality due to shame about who you are, or if you have a perceived lack of control of your environment, if you are worried about things going wrong a lot and you have intense anxiety due to complex post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever it may be, you might view having a flawless moral track record to be controlling your environment, to make sure nothing's going to go wrong, to make sure that no one's going to criticize you or judge you. It's an attempt to stay safe from judgment if you've been bullied in the past or something similar. It's an attempt to control your surroundings. It's an attempt to receive acceptance from everybody around you and to help boost your self-worth. So let's talk about the reality of how this actually shows up in your life.